So, hello? Hello? Shit. You fucking quiet. Be a bit like, hello? Hello! Yeah. I like that. I'm Ali. Hi. Pookie. Frisco. I'm from Manchester. And I'm here to make a confession. And fuck. How do I do this? I'm a poet. Who's heard of a poetry slam before? Fuck. You guys are whack. Who has heard of a poetry slam before? Thank you. We've got some Americans in tonight, I think. The origins of slam in Chicago, I think. Alright. That's cool. So, my name's Ali, I'm from Manchester, and myself and my business partner over there, Shirley May, one of the most beautiful women in Old Trafford, or the universe. Come on girl, you didn't pay me shit. Love you, man. So yeah, we started a thing together called Young Identity, and it's a group of young poets who write poetry every week at a place called Contact Theatre in Manchester, which is now closed down for a bit, but that don't matter. So basically, we started this thing, and it was in 2006, I think, sure? Yeah, 2006. And we started by slamming young people. And a poetry slam is a competition. It's like figure skating for poets. So you do your thing, and then someone holds up a card, they like 10, if you're lucky. Or, in our case, the points are not the point. The point is the poetry. So we don't deal with competition like that. So everybody that you're going to see on the stage tonight, that I'm about to bring out, they're all slam winners. They've won slams before. And we're not in a poetry slam at the moment. They're just going to show you their work that has won slams and travelled all over the fucking place. Okay? Is that cool? Yeah. All right. Make some fucking noise. Perfect. We got some audience in. That's great. It's great. So yeah, we started this thing called One Mic Stand. It's a night in Manchester. I feel like a fucking teacher. We started this thing called One Mic Stand. It's a poetry slam, and the poets that you're about to see, they're all a part of 3 generations of Young Identity. That's like 10 years worth of work. Yeah? And yeah, I just want to introduce them and bring them on and send some shouts out and give some love. So without further ado, Young Identity, where you at? Where you there? Here we go. So we got Damani, we got Billie, we got Ella, we got Nicole, we got the man Isaiah home, we got the man Reece.
That's about right. You're not going to be laughing in 3 minutes, eh? Oh, shit. Let's go.
Alright, you ready, bro? Let's do this. My mom was born ready.
I never really knew what this life entailed till I was headstone shopping in the Black Friday sales. Never known betrayal until I first spoke of you in the past tense. Never known writer's block till I wrote your eulogy with a black pen. Never known ink until my back bent. Shoveling sediment atop your casket as believers sang of eternity and the land where life never ends. Only just learned that life can be ruthless. And all this time I never knew. Never knew darkness, never knew pain, never knew hardship, never knew change, never knew guarding, never knew strain, never knew, I never knew till we buried you, never knew hopeless, never knew light, never knew broken, never knew pride, never knew focus, never knew life, never knew till we buried you. And downpours are more common than sunshine. And sometimes even sunlight stunts life with unkind rays that burn the innocent like the indigenous during apartheid. Never knew bitter till I saw her riding into the sunset with a sack full of 6 siblings' inheritance. Never knew the relevance of memory till it's all I had left. And now I'm riding with the weight of all the things I never said, never asked, never thought, never checked. Now I know the madness inside a hell of regrets I'm writing so we don't forget. Never knew darkness, never knew pain, never knew hardship, never knew change, never knew guarding, never knew strain, never knew, I never knew till we buried you, never knew hopeless, never knew light, never knew broken, never knew pride, never knew focus, never knew life, never knew till we buried you. I never really knew what it took for you to quit trapping. Never knew that your wife loved you better when you were crafting. And now I know the reasons you kept your circle so small. Never missed small talks and I couldn't give you a call. Never knew that your words would guide me through the darkest of nights. Never knew that boxing would prepare me for life. Now I'm learning what it means to pick myself up from the canvas. Now I'm changing up the questions instead of looking for the answers, and in your absence, the morning gives way to an eternity of memories. And all this time I never knew the power of your legacy. Darkness, never knew pain, never knew hardship, never knew change, never knew guarding, never knew strain, never knew till we buried you. Never knew hopeless, never knew light, never knew broken, never knew pride, never knew focus, never knew life. Never knew, I never knew till we buried you. I never knew till we buried you.
Vulnerability knocked at my door. Jealousy stroked my hair. Paranoia became my mind's lover. I wrote a letter to worry and signed it with fear. On a misguided pathway with malicious roots. A bundle of confusion with a lack of direction. Allowing deceit to massage my soul. I have seen it all. Sat in animated living rooms, smoking freedom. Drinking utopia. Snorting intricate dreams, denouncing the creator. Perfectly prostrated, I kissed my internal genocide. I was spiritually checking out, enlightened of what spirit was checking in, so I burnt sage for cleansing. I went outside and I stood on the grass barefooted and I earthed myself. Life is a funny thing when you realize you've lost everything, but you are your own next of kin. Life is a funny thing when you realize you've lost everything, but you are your own next of kin. But for the first time I could breathe, not physically but mentally. So I write to escape the soulless machines that march in unison. As we have systems that we are unable to believe, as they are wrapped up in metaphor and conspiracy. Ultimately, we have made man, God, paradox to our teachings. I have had snakes eaten at my dinner table with a pretense of reciprocal kindness. But we are hedonistic consumers unable to connect. And it's like God has put on his darkest sunglasses and his ears are no longer ordained to hear our cries. So I pen my existence on paper in the hope that he can still read.
diamonds in your eyes. You caught the sunshine. You made rainbows from staring into space. I told you should daydream more. Colors dance when you do. You made fires out of lime greens and baby blues. You painted the walls and changed the room when you got lost outside the window. And it's brought you this far. I think you should trust your powers more. You should be proud. You've done so much without the slightest plan. You see the world in ways that they don't understand. You found the cloud that looked most like a train and stretched your hands. Drew you a ticket in pencil and wrote it to Wonderland. I hope I can be there with you soon. I heard you were friends with the moon. I want to meet her when I visit you, and I hope that's cool. You're out in Wonderland holding hands where the flowers bloom, dancing around the tomb of sadness and its attitude. You gave me happiness in a paper box for my birthday. What? Many can't say they've ever seen such a gift. I passed it on because, you know, someone needed it more than I needed it. But you said that you'd replace it if you saw fit. Please don't forget. I know it's in your nature, and I'll forgive you anyway, because you made bliss fall from the sky and it felt like heavy rain. I remember everything from the winter. You made the seasons change. You warmed the hearts the ice had caged. You know what? Trust yourself more. You should trust yourself more. You should trust yourself more. Because you've done it before, and you can do it again, because you're more than important. Where we come from, many can't say that they've made it out safe, but we try anyway despite this lack of inspiration. I never wanted to be complacent, and I never found the time. Every dream was heavyweight. You lived until your body gave way, and I could see it in your eyes. So I'm leaving breadcrumbs on my shoes so I can find my way back to all the good I'll ever lose.
I'm not asleep, and yet my wolves are. Their snores have brought the fireflies out tonight, and it's not calm. But it's not painful either, they are content. They blink for the smaller invasions, life questions, inner monologues, miniature searchings of self. The lights have no intention. They just float, pulsing back at me, gracefully whirling in and out of one another, as though all afterthoughts have come together to debate their importance in a random order. The wolves are sleeping tonight, of which I am grateful. But it's safe to say they can be missed. Stillness can be unsettling. These louds leave umami in the throat.
I wrote a Hemingway along your spine. It's read profanity, and biro pens that I wrote poems with I swallowed so they'd never tell my secrets. We've been very strange. I was never raised properly, just a sloppy-mannered prophet with a lot to say and a tongue that mattered not. His head, the laughing spot, the zip I hid, the curry chicken, the ugly women, the lungs of villagers I filled with vats of ink. And Saturday moments scribbled in Diprovan and Ritalin and limericks in Italica font. I never cared about Parisians. And I never will. All of my knife habits are 7-inch. All of my wives are cursed with melanin. My eyes are double and saturated in American stout ale, and all of my younger siblings have died. and my mother doesn't look me in the face, but at the footprints that I give, she always wishes me God. I'm a terrible human. I was on the phone for some hours, a December of a man. I remember every time he'd steal from the corner shop because my fingers were in your pockets at the time. And I told you that I liked you in that small pocket of time that you forgot you were smiling in. I've been lost on these forgotten islands, swapping pints with Pontius Pilate. It's been a while since he's mentioned we will die together. I'm tiptoeing around it, to be honest. I'm trying to stay on the subject of poetry.
It was her who gave the world its flavour. The forbidden fruit was just the beginning, and the taste of freedom left her hungry for more. She wasn't just tempted by a silver-tongued serpent, she led the first uprising in Eden, and with it a worldwide revolution of knowledge and disobedience. They'd sat in perfect peace, man and his helper, his bone, his flesh, his woman, and then deceit slithered into the garden and planted the first seeds of anarchy into her head. She was promised the fruit would open her eyes, and who wouldn't take that chance if they knew they'd become wise? And the woman who refused to live in ignorant bliss then proceeded to overthrow the omnipresent power that she had always known. I want Eve's rebellion running through my veins so that I can remind myself of freedom and imperfection. But we could only wish to be daughters of Eve. Her thirst for fruit was a thirst for knowledge that left her punishable, ashamed of her nakedness and riddled with the guilt of disobedience which came with the knowledge of good and evil. This was the domino effect that led to the world we now know, the world of suffering and sin, of immortality and illness, science and confusion, knowledge and hope. Eve, mother of all living, lived too long in his shadow.
They ask me how I feel. And I tell them, my hell is real and I don't feel any comfort in heavens they speak of. And it feels a bit like God got tired and took the week off. And he came back with souvenirs from Sicily to find a city crying about a man we've lost. And he's not in the business of Lazarus. The well is dried up on his parables. And they ask about my state of mind, if I'm being kind to myself. They've seen the decline of my health, but grief is inconsiderate. And see, she's got me living in squalor, squatting, folded fetal in the basement of sorrow. I'm feeling hollow. Don't know how I'm going to face tomorrow. And all this has got me wondering. How can the reason with this man who is sick and tired of theology, of being compared to Job and instructed on how to address God properly, and why doesn't he have an appeals policy? Why is it a sin to speak so honestly? Feeling helpless, like throwing rocks at invisible gods. As helpless as my dad trying to pay his mortgage with the lack of a job. My appetite for the date is lost, and my thoughts are chewing more than my pen on my throughout is bit enough. And I'm running scared and looking for a breather. I don't think my grandmother likes this man I've become. I'm not sure I do either. I'm eager for rest, but I don't sleep at night. I'm caught between the nightmare and the dream. And it seems that the peace is in the pieces in between. Insomnia's got me hanging out with the moon. How can I sleep when I know that all our heroes die too soon? All the villains live too long, and all our saviors light up spoons, and all our demons is too strong. And all we've ever known is bottom rock.
We are young, with more More than enough energy to toe-to-toe with fear. And deaf ears to old ladies singing, "You can't skateboard here." We are young. More than enough time to decide on who we want to be. Hey, don't ask me what I want to do when I finish school. Because I ain't got to think about that yet. I got assignments due and vodka shots and jackets to buy because man could never be hot, but my bank account's kind of dry, so I might just save the links on Depop and ASOS. And if you don't know what that means, you need to go ask your kids because we are young. The face of unity has never looked so sweet and free. They say self-love is all we need, and if it wasn't for physics, I'd marry myself. Because we are young. Fresh enough to set the trend. Together, much like blender pens. Through the internet, we're in to get the best the world can offer. It's a syndicate of cats and dogs and mice and frogs and blacks and Jews. It's masterful the way we use our only tools to throw up fists and throw a fit to show we're standing with the truth. Because you cannot forget the youth. You know why? Because we are young. We will not just sit frustrated and bored. We'll stop who profits from us being ignored. It's like you speak civilized and they don't look you in the eyes. They just deny you. Then you raise your voice. They claim you're making noise and disguise you as angry and ignorant. Like we ain't saying the same shit we've been saying the whole time. They just never chose to listen. Well, we're taking gas and lighters, setting fire to the roof. My spark is in this pen, and you will not forget the youth, because we are young.
Facebook. Glued to, fixed on, yet disconnected. Our time is tailored to stay online. The retina screen divides us from the true global reality, despondent, depressed, disillusioned. We are Facebook revolutionaries. The injustice we see is more frequent than the Manchester rain. Mass media manipulates millions. We are Murdoch's morning minions. Propaganda, his master plan, changing our profile pictures to stand in solidarity to misconceived perceptions. But I will not change my profile filter for somebody else's agenda. There's always three sides to the story. Theirs, yours, and the actual truth. But our time is tailored to stay online. Charleston. Mass murder was in the morning mist. Crazy killer Dylan Reece shoots up church. 9 worshippers dead. Psychotic. Schizophrenic. No shoot to kill policy for him though, because he has a different hue from me. And we continue to scroll on Facebook, feeding our habits like fiends. London, 15 shots at Stockwell Station. John Chiaz de Mendes is dead, and they hold up their hands and say, sorry, mistaken identity. A mother left with a grave and no real apology, as though his light didn't mean anything. And we continue to scroll on Facebook. Syria, rubble and debris is your garden, your home, and we close our borders with barbed wire and send drones with love from Paris, and then we continue to scroll on Facebook. Congo, you rip and tear at the virginity of your daughters, impregnating them with post-traumatic stress, leaving them like a barren wasteland, while placing a gun in the hands of your sons, and then filthy generals go free, and we continue to scroll on Facebook. Are you conscious? We purposely pursue distractions, dislocating dreams, decapitating the ghost from the machine. Our ego cannot reason with it to reach self-actualization. We walk through mirrored massacres. Are you conscious? Are you conscious. Bluetooth fixed on yet disconnected. Our time is tailored to stay online. The retina screen divides us from the true global reality. You Facebook revolutionaries, tell me how many bullets you can block behind a status. How many lives can you save behind a French flag? And how many are you going to go home and write about this? Are you conscious as we continue to scroll on Facebook?
I watch them watch themselves in the camera. These three faces, gaze, glazed and gorgeous, freeze for just a moment to capture something sweet. They pout one of those smiles that we've all seen in commercials so that it almost looks natural. It feels natural for them to stop like that, bring their faces close and let the atmosphere get caught up in her screen. A picture that will smell of overheated coffee and James Brown and poetry fed into their psyches, passed through their smiles. Stifling air will filter their frame before their hats and coats are tested by the winter wind and rain, a freeze frame, a moment in time. Their moment, a shared moment, the modern autobiography for all to see. If self-loathing is the new virtue, and thank fuck for the selfie. See, Generation Y, we're on a roll. The selfie is the way we take control of our bodies and how they are seen, so that girls are proud of their thunder and lightning thighs. And we can start romanticizing a plain dark brown eye. Make you wish you had stretch marks to decorate your hips like lightning bolts in the sky when the strongest storm hits, yes. Whether or not you see worth in her appearance, her body is a good place to be. It is the best place to be. It is her home, vessel of her perceived imperfections, and all of her genuine achievements that you have been lucky enough to gaze upon.
Poverty is swallowing. Bricks first quickened, it cares less for its choice of partners, it waits underfoot every fortnight and flirts with the half-filled bellies of your children. It is simple and stagnant, it is curable and yet impossible to solve, it is myth and prejudice. A series of unfavourable equations, of awful math, of people problems, of politics and social economics and working welfare and treating people like people and lands not like monopoly pieces. To live and to keep is to break even. Breaking people, it's dependency, it's injustice, it's unpaid for poems, it's reading this, it's not having, but having a lot in a lack of. Determination will not keep you from the edge of the world if the current is stronger than the force of your brutes. All this hard work has no result in deficit. And all these poetics will be swallowed, and it's complicated, and it needs a spine and a rewrite or three, but until then, I can't write myself out of a half-filled belly. My runes, now hollowed viaducts.
Hit that, DJ. Before the bleeding, before I asked the moon to be a kiss, before I rubied at the wrist, before Lupin moved with Hitch, before I lit the Lucy's opposites, before the British broadcasting even knew that we existed, this sentence sounded foolish from my lips. Now I'm getting used to feeling stupid to the rich, cruising off a bit, losing to the luminosity. I'm talking way before the money came, the rain would pour on summer days before I let her come and stay with me. Run away in dreams, sex was just a numbers game, or maybe that's the way it seemed. Before they cared about the meaning of my words when I was just another black body breathing in the burbs. Before Mugen left the island, before Luffy met the pirates, before David slew Goliath, before Zeus overthrew the Titans, I knew that you'd be right for me. But I'm the loser in the fight, it seems. Before I was the shooter in the driver's seat, before I left school to be a writer, drinking 2 liters of cider just to prove that I'm alive, I threw a tulip in the fire and it turned into a Bitcoin. started lining up. Before I joined the Writers Club, before I left the mountains as a dire wolf, before I was Isaiah Hope. Stood before the Sufis, diluted in papaya leaf, before addiction, before the women would always die on me, before I gave them life for free. And that'd be the irony, hitchhiking in my DNA. Jumping woman to woman like it's a piece of cake. Before I was a poet that the people hate, before I went from Marlboroughs to B&H, before my granddad passed away, before my nana left Jamaica, I was standing in the rain. Like, why are you so moody in the mix? Demons came to me as a kid, looming at my crib. Father left to fetch his gun, shoot me in the sticks. Before Looper ever superseded Brick, before that movie was a script. How could you see the beauty in a beast when the demons came to me in my dreams? Usually in dreams. I'm overdue to bleed, and I'm not sure if they ever left, but who do you believe? I'm a liar, I'm a thief, I wanna die, I wanna bleed, I wanna climb up on a tree. Write up what I see until I find that what I need is always right in front of me the whole time. The whole time. Thank you.
A letter for Tamir Rice. When I first heard of your assassination, I was already spent on grief. For Emmett, for Oscar, for Renisha, for Mike, for Trayvon. My well of mourning is running dry. I'm drawing on coppers at the bottom of the wishing well. It is hard but necessary to be reminded so frequently of how expendable we, this strange fruit, truly are. And you left your house that day armed with an arsenal of ambition, loaded with hope and ready to explode with potential like fireworks across that Cleveland skyline commemorating the new year that you weren't allowed to enter. And I remember what it was like to be a 12-year-old black boy. It was hard enough to keep the mind clear, without being burdened with the knowing that from birth until death, you will live your life inside that eye of a crosshair. Potentially just 28 hours from death by police or death by racially motivated murder. Constantly shrinking yourself to fit into inhospitable places, governed by people who think they're doing you a favor by letting you breathe. And it's unfair. You had to adjust to life in a world where the humanhood of blacks must be asserted daily. This is not the peace or the justice Dr. King and his generation marched in solidarity for. And it's unfair that the media will question your skill at living cautiously rather than your right to live happily. They will not probe why one of your murderers was a frontline police officer despite being deemed unfit for policing. The mainstream media will partake in a demonization of your character. You will be presented as the villain rather than the victim of this modern day lynching. The inquest into your death will be nothing more than perfunctory. A grand jury will decide that your death certificate was not signed when a dispatcher asked the caller whether you were black or white, not once but twice. But they will not apportion accountability for the police giving you just 2 seconds to react to their cries of, "Put your fucking hands up!" before shooting you twice in the gut, forcing you to spend 4 of your final conscious minutes in the presence of your killers. Deprived of your right to first aid or the comfort of having your sister by your side as you bled into the afterlife, dear Tamir. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you never lived long enough to learn the difference between assumed juvenile criminality and kids being kids. Is not the difference between a toy gun and a real gun, but the difference between black skin and white skin, dear Tamir. I promise to write down and speak up until in years to come the history books speak of your name and those countless others in the same breath as genocide.
It ain't safe outside. A mother told her son, And while she struggles for rent, he's trying to plot on how to stack sky high. Like 50K in a month, but only dealers round the street know how to cop that shit slick and sly. So what do you do when at night the neighborhood gets too scary to navigate? With monsters lurking in every alleyway, ready to take what's on you regardless of how you made it. And they have nothing to lose, so death is sitting adjacent in that situation. The son vowed to never be complacent. The only way about the hood it's like the Matrix. You gotta take them pills. But he didn't take them like Neo, he was more like Morpheus. An untrained pharmacist prescribing drugs to more of us glorious. So a few weeks passed and he went from pouch to backpack. Upgraded shoes with new laces, the same color as the powder in his bag now. This boy had never spent that much on his feet, so this summer, he's confident he can outrun any heat. And for protection of his cake, he feels he must get a piece. So he upgraded from his slice with a steel. Now he has rocks in his sack that were not his to take. But oh, his chrome proofs trusty inches away from a face. And now he's able to tell you where to find sugarcane. But pigs already smell the sweetness and are on his case. It ain't safe outside. A mother told her son, not knowing he's part of the reason why it ain't safe outside. She's trying to protect him from himself. Articles on alley shootings and his hands is where that blood runs. Dust on his PlayStation 1 because playing first-person shooters is a lot more fun when it's said and done, but he's yet to see the outcome. See, guns make noise and he's a loud one. Money's even louder when jealousy is a problem. You think you run the city? It's laughable how you doubt them. Who? The ones like you. They never had it either. And they have nothing to lose. You want to be in a league with them boys? You got some work to do. They're not friendly and you're on their turf. But you looking fresh as hell. Go flex on girls. Matter of fact, go flex on the world. Hey, show them what you got. Till the party stop. Out late in that part of town your mama worried about. But you got the juice. You don't even have to worry now. Out here dancing with red hands like the party clown to match the red bottom shoes that made you drop 1 thou. See, everybody's dancing and the sun's down. There's a lot of faces in this party. Including the clock, including your watch, and time tells that in 20 minutes your tick-tock will stop. But you can't hear it. The music's too loud and the lyrics are not coherent, but everybody knows the chorus, and it's about to drop until bah, 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 and that's when the song stops and everybody's rushing to the exit. Get out! Get out! But you be feeling invincible in his house, so you spot the culprit. And he's got this cold stare like no other. That's when you realize you should have listened to your mother. You recognize him. He gets straight A's and nothing under. And he's going to end you the same way you did his little brother. Gang members jealous they didn't get you first. Mom thinking you're innocent only makes it worse. Nobody's snitching. So cops are in for a long searching. You just became a statistic through all your hard work.
The equation of a what's left afterlife, the amalgamation of all entities, all satellites, all acquaintances, of all not quite friends, some rose-tinted strangers, bus riders, villains, your piercer, your preacher, authors, foul-mouthed teachers, childhood myths and monsters, close misdemeanors, thanks to those ASBO kids. It's your one friend who helped you scream, "Fuck the police!" in your Caucasian workplace. because there's only like 2 of you. And it's theatre, so you milly rock in the wings of ancient verse plays, and there's a metaphor in there somewhere, but your ribs are paper folding from laughing too much. An ungovernable neighbour. The first crush, last pressed, the homeless bloke who stole your baccy. Every heroic request from a potential dater. House party and ill-fated decisions. Chemical imbalance with no admin, cured tendencies, weekday disintegration, nefarious dependency on a boy so fine his brown eyes sing Badoo. Best friends, enemies, in-betweeners, every bad memory, the fires, the floods, Hurricane Ivan and a lost plum tree. Languages you don't speak. Creoles you definitely do. Genesis lyrics replacing all the psalms that you once knew. Every beach, water coconut and boxed dinner you ate. Every shit game of cricket that your dad made you play. The millennium, kids TV, the world worsening in a weekend, the homophobes, the saboteurs, the socialists. Loneliness plays games of never have I ever with my girlfriend. It's new housemates. All painters and brownie makers, betraying your self-proclaimed introversion, straying to parties you hate. Tequila being the less thespian version of self-immolation. Terrible guidance counsellors. Deadlines, epiphanies, far too personal peer reviews, all insults, thank yous, forgivings, all favours, feigning care in the palm package expectancy of a one-night body swap. It's your partner now. It's your last gross hero. It's everything happens for a reason, a hapless proverb made to make you feel less awful about the most human side of living, the slapdash mess that is being, that is existing, as though all tragedies find time to gracefully fall into place like the misplaced purple rain of a poor Dionysus. Originality is a fable. A man-made belief system to make you and your tie-dye feel better. You are a patchwork human. All that is tactile and powerful, that is mild and gentle and overwhelmingly forgettable, that is interesting and complex and disgustingly simple. Pastiche slices of a psyche, you are crafted pieces and portions of material memory. Our genius and misfortunes are only hand-me-downs to claim or denounce.
Headlines. If headlines streamed out of my mother's eyes, they'd leave scars like carefully crafted tribal markings. No longer did she wear rose-tinted spectacles, as each fistful, fear-receiving punch left shards of glass embedded in my mother's skin. This man was a corridor creeper, creating movie features just before dinner. So if I could wrap my mother's heart in newspaper, just after he beat her, it would tell you that he was inhumane and this was a daily occurrence. With each stomach-clutching, gut-wrenching movement, her pain was muffled by her fist in her mouth, trying to hide the sound of the hectic domestic, but these walls are thin. The neighbours could experience cinematic scenes translated into blood-curdling radio plays, but still they ignore, behind concrete walls, much thicker than closed doors. So if I could wrap my mother's heart in newspaper, just after he beat her, self-conscious images would descend as she tries to hide the cuts, the bruising, her fears flashing warning lights, leaving remnants of a butchered heart, butchered possibility. She stays for the children, she stays for love lost, now coated on bloody fists, as he promises, as he promises he won't do it again. Yet the neighbours remain silent, as if watching movie credits roll up with familiar names like Mrs. Hall and her 2 Mrs. children. Mrs. Edwards can be found dead on the kitchen floor. Mrs. Lewis wondering where it all went wrong, Miss Parveen death by misadventure, Miss Matthews on a psychiatric unit, Miss Evans a suicide. All these mothers' stories are kept secret. So if I could wrap my mother's heart, if I could wrap all these mothers' hearts in newspaper, just after he beat them, they'd leave scars like carefully crafted tribal markings.
I have a confession. I fill my head in the type of bodies that I want crashing against my own. Some half imagined, others poorly remembered, some pre-exist platonically. Camel blues, distract me please. In soft, bawling in the courtroom, hard, head in the showers, cloud mouthing, out. Ideas of wolf lust, yeah, that old hound, all fours, finger with no nail, circling in crotch cage, to follow a fox-tailed thought from finger to forward, fine skin of the author. Why sing at the altar another man's phantom when you can leave church and private tab your personal Magdalena? Miss America. More like wet mascaraed mascaron who cries for you to stop. It would be a misdemeanor on yourself. So you pause for ridding health with 20 deck delphinimus, a nickel each, nicotining. But before the nicker-free women scream, it isn't Jesus who visits me in the shy of night like Nicodemus. No. Who cries for me is Fawcett at the finish line of fuck when your little time is up in the middle nighters club, when you're sat in front of your laptop because you didn't find a lover to collapse in the dark with. I feel my head in shapes, right? Holes bitten out of bodies, leaving new sinews, so romantic, pills and prophylactic. In the flower market of modafinil, pick up pretty daffodils flipped over mattresses, they never equal up to you. I'm still recoiling, such a cheap thrill, black Adonis limousine hill, dipping thigh deep. Didn't I sleep with you before? They call me a creep, but I beg back row for sex in cinema. They ushered me out. You know, before the previews in the overture, standing in front of the mirror, the only cure is standing dick, head to head with myself in the glass, equidistant, you know. Measuring self-love by who weakens first, over how long it will take to find myself attractive again.
We only noticed when the house got sick, when the mold began to seep from brick to bone, the walls wept, drowned me in my dying home. We're never taught what to do when after clearing out our parents' houses, we find the skeletons in the closet and our own. I envy the paranoid, always believing there's someone watching and listening, whilst I'm frantically twisting at the radio dial, hoping to hear my name. Maybe the state dug graves to swallow men, and the soil exhaled a sunken story too thin to catch with the naked eye. She was a petri dish of her family's forgotten truths and remembered lies. When they fought each other, breathless, they listened for the first time, and with every hit they understood a little more about why they were there. She reclaimed blue blood, as the way stories were inked under her skin. A swelling, blue-bloodied bruise perches under the sleeve of a red dress. She was cloaked in stale sweat and faithfulness to a cause that the state had hoped to bury with her.
Today I just wanna go back home, especially 'cause it's all I know when I'm alone. I got this thing that just won't let me go. I hope every time I come and go, so I love it more and more, and I don't understand, but something tells me I already know. Stranded in the shallow snow, back hollow, everything I need I got ammo. Can you face the moon, space and June? All that's left to do is stay with you. Can you face the moon, space and June? All that's left to do is stay with you. Today I just wanna go back home, especially 'cause it's all I know when I'm alone. I got this thing that just won't let me go. I hope every time I come and go, so I love it more and more, and I don't understand, but something tells me I already know. Stranded in the shallow snow, back hollow, everything I need I got it more. Can you face the moon, space and June? All that's left to do is stay with you. Can you face the moon, space and June? All that's left to do is stay with you.
We're from England, so we don't really do that coming out and in over and over again. I don't mind doing it in the other show that I'm in, 'cause it's cool, but like, Like, these are from Manchester, you know what I mean? So, before we set up for the next bit, I mean, like, I'm not even in the next bit, so I don't even know why I'm saying, like, we. But, before we do, I just wanted to thank the Fine Festival and thank Thomas Ostermeyer and thank Stefan Nagel and Maya and Florian and everyone here who's so beautiful and loves looking after people. You're just a great fucking team. And I was going to do a poem, but I'm not now, so I'll see you later. Have a nice evening.